Hey, this is Don from Padlock Technologies again with another video. Now, I know you've probably been asking, where have I been? Let me just say I've been busy. I had some upgrades to do. I had some other things that I was doing. So, it's been a while since I put a video out, probably like a week. But I did get a question on DNS Layer Security. So, that's what this video was about. And why I believe every company should have DNS layer security. I don't care if you're a small shop or multinational company, you need to have DNS layer security in your environment. So, what is DNS security? So, from a technical standpoint, we're just going to go to the whiteboard here. I like my whiteboards. We're going to start out with DNS layer security. Now, for the most part, this is a compensating control on top of other things. This is not the end all be all, but it's your first line of defense against malicious attackers, right? Because a lot of attacks, so I'll give you a rough estimate of the numbers. Do not take these numbers as 100%. So about 75 to 80% of attacks start out with a DNS request. Okay. So the bad guys use DNS to get you to go to a malicious site. And if you don't know from a technical standpoint, these are for for non-technical. When you go to a web page, so let's say you're the user here, so we'll put user, all right? And let's say you want to go to, let's say www, and I'll put /s or quick because HTTPS or HTTP. So before you go to that website, the first thing you're going to do is internally you're going to go to your DNS server. So let's say this is your internal DNS server. You're going to send that request here. What DNS will do is what your internal DNS server will forward it to a public DNS server. So PDNS, right? Then when that gets the answer comes back, then it goes to you, right? And then you go to the web page. Okay. That's pretty much the flow here. Now, what's been happening from a DNS layer security standpoint, and like I said, 70 to 80% of most malware attacks and stuff like that, botnets, CNCs, all that stuff, usually start out with DNS because if you go to a site that's a malicious site, you're going to send that DNS request first because you're going to have to resolve that human readable name. So FQDN, something like www.whatever.com, .net, .org, doesn't matter. And then if you are not using another provider to basically scrub the internet of known malicious sites, you're at risk of, hey, let's say this www was owned by a bad person. All right. So now what ends up happening is you make that connection out to that site and then all hell breaks loose. So then parties start happening right here. So this could be malware. This could be ransomware. Ransomware. I know I spelled that wrong because that's to be an N. This could be, you know, C and C2Cs, which is command and control, right? All kind of malicious stuff start happening, and it happened to you because you went to malicious site. You said, "Hey, tell me what that IP address is for this FQDN." You had nothing here. You didn't have a control here. So right here should be the control that says, "Hey, I'm going to check to see if that's a known bad." Right? Known bad. Right? You don't have that here, and I'll put an X because you didn't have it. You didn't have that here to check. So what ends up happening is you just get the IP address, you go to the bad person site, and then your whole network is basically up for grabs at this point. And also forgot to put in here that they will sell access to your network. All right. So this right here is the big one here. That's where they make the most money off of. This and ransomware. All right. Malware, you just being malicious. ransomware, you're trying to get some money out of somebody. But selling access to your network is where the big money is. And if you look on the dark web, there's a whole bunch of sites that are selling access to networks that people don't even know people have access to yet. Right. And the problem with this is this is what you might get hit with something called it APT, Advanced Persistent Threat, which is not an actual piece of software or anything. These are like nation states or certain groups of people who are going to continue to bang at your network until they get in, right? So they're going to sell it. And what they're going to do is, if this is your network here, they're just going to lie somewhere in your network, right? Just sitting here waiting for the CNC to say do something. This is why your network can turn into a botnet for some reason. I get into one machine and then I replicate like a rabbit, and then I have a whole botnet, or I may be doing an exfiltration attack where I'm just pilfering data out of your network. Could be, gigs of data or terabytes of data. Again, I can sell access to other people to go into your network and exfiltrate data for, thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars, depending on how valuable that data is to you or to your competitor or to some random person that can blackmail you saying, hey, I have your IP. What are you going to give me to give it back to you? Kind of stuff like that. But what DNS layer security does is that first line of defense. What it does basically is where I said that check for known bad. It will go, let me erase this first of all. Erase. So you will have that check here. So here now, like the green. You will have a check here that is going to say, hey, let me make sure I go in my database and see whatever you're trying to go to from a DNS perspective. Let me see if this request is going to a malicious site, right? And if it's going to a malicious site, what will end up happening is this thing will send the user something and just either block it or do a connection reset. All kind of stuff can happen, but it will mitigate the threat of you going to a malicious site, right? Because it's going to block it at the DNS layer. And if DNS doesn't happen, then web can't happen, right? If I can't resolve this FQDN to an IP address, then I can't go to the website. That's a bad website. So this guy here is pretty much out of luck. Now, there's other ways of getting around this. So again, this is a first line of defense when it comes to your internet security. And there's different types of DNS security. There is post and then there's pre, right? So there's some solutions out there that are post, hey, we saw something bad happen. We record it. We know it is a known bad. We put it in our database so we can block it in the future. Then there's some pre stuff, which is pretty cool. And I'm not going to talk about the solution for that yet. If you want to talk about the solution, links in the bio, stuff like that. I would say links in the bio, like I'm on social media. Links underneath this video here. You can go in there, click. We can talk about it and talk about DNS layer security for your organization. But there's also pre DNS uh, layer security implementations where it will look at everything around a newly registered domain. And there's certain criteria that lets them know that, hey, this is attached to these known domains that are also attached to this provider that had attacks coming from here, 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 and here. And they'll block it before it even gets in the post, right? They'll block it before you even know about it. So that's a great solution in itself that it goes from pre all the way to post. So some of the stuff that's just post is, hey, we got to see something bad happen before we move on or before we block it. Where other solutions are, hey, we saw this domain got registered to this registrar, and we know that this registrar is known for having malware and all this good stuff. So we're just going to block it off the rip. So you won't even get a chance to have to worry about blocking it in post. And it follows you through the entire attack cycle. So well, at least from a DNS perspective, it can follow through the whole thing from domain register all the way to possibly, hey, something bad happens, right? So that is DNS layer security in a nutshell. I did do a video on Umbrella. I will put something over this way over here. So you can watch that video on Umbrella, because that is one solution for DNS layer security. There's other ones, but watch the DNS layer security for Cisco Umbrella first, so you can get a little bit of an understanding about why you should use something like DNS layer security. This is Don from Padlock Technologies. Don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe to the video. I appreciate you guys being patient with me because I was gone for a week and I wasn't able to upload a video. Keep sending me questions. If you do have a question, there's going to be a video bumper at the end to tell you exactly where to send your questions to. If I actually see that email and I feel like it's warrants a video response, I'll let you know that there's going to be a video response and you'll see a video just like this one. Once again, this is Don from Padlock Technologies. Thank you and have a nice day.